Okay guys, I'm going to be doing just a kind of general video talking about every and all things Star Wars for today because I kind of wanted to make this month Star Wars month because it's May 4th and Empire Strikes Back just got their 40th anniversary like yesterday or something. So I just think let's just talk about Star Wars. So today, in no particular fashion, I'm just going to be talking about a bunch of topics coming from the Star Wars franchise. So I'm probably going to call this a video Let's Talk Star Wars. I don't know how long this video is going to be. But again, like in a general sense, I want to talk about Star Wars because I really do love it. I love a bunch of other things. But for now, let's keep it Star Wars based. Okay, getting right into it. Let's talk about lightsaber duels and lightsabers. Lightsabers are such a cool thing because it's like it takes the generic sword and dials it up to 11. It really does, because it's like you have this idea of, oh, a cool kind of sword, but then what it does is it takes that and makes elements that we've never seen before. And that's what I think Star Wars does the best, where it can dip into a lot of classic themes like saving the princess, a farm boy, a smuggler, a kind of wisdom a person who trains the hero and kind of acts as a mentor. But it takes all those qualities and makes them in unique ways where it kind of dips into sci-fi, romance, fantasy, space, action, drama, and all these different things. And so it's like it really does and works well. And so lightsabers are just another element of that, in which you can kind of understand that, oh yeah, lightsabers are really cool and do bring some emphasis. And so, let me be right back. But yeah, so like I was saying, lightsabers kind of bring that element of cool and fashion, and it's really exciting. And then the duels itself just even elevate it even more. Just the clanging of lightsabers and the sound it makes. Because let's face it, lightsabers have some pretty unique sounds. But I think the duels, number one, majority of the duels have great choreography. A lot of them do. Obviously, the original New Hope duel didn't really have the best choreography. But what it did have was the character motion, and you feel the tension, but you don't get that with the choreography. You know what I mean? Where it's like on character stakes, it's high, but for the duel itself, like if I just showed you a duel out of context, this duel is probably the worst duel ever. But when you see it in the context of New Hope, you're like, oh wow, this duel is actually pretty cool because you know who Darth Vader is, you know who Obi-Wan is, and you know the relationship as master and apprentice. And then Empire's duel is a lot better, where it has all the character stakes as the other duel, as Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan, but this one, whereas Luke is facing an adversary way out of his league, and this is obviously Luke's real first test as a Jedi, so it has stakes there. And obviously that great ending with no, I am your father. But yeah, like I was saying, that's great. And then you have Return of the Jedi. Great, great character moments. A lot of great stuff there. And I think what makes duel part of beyond the choreography and beyond the character stakes and character emotions and all that, and the meaning of the fight, the locations are cool. That's another thing that elevates the fight, because it's like if you just fought in a generic room like this, it's boring, because it's like that's just the truth. Is which fighting on Mustafar, the location of Mustafar makes that lightsaber duel so much more better, as it's like in a great environment. And I think that's great, like a throne room lightsaber fight, a lightsaber fight in all these different locations, the lightsaber fight on the wreckage of the second Death Star, and all these cool stuff that make it so exciting. So yeah. And then going forward, furthermore, yeah, and so it's like having an. I think the Cloud City fight is visually also amazing. I think like the orange tone, where it's like a lot more ominous, like that orange tone. And I think what makes this fight even more crazy is you know what happened to Han. You saw what happened to Han in this exact location, and so you know that Luke you know that they'll go there. Maybe they'll get Luke frozen in carbonite. You don't know. And so I think that adds a lot more value to it, and just again like that cool location. And this fight has three different locations. It has the original the carbonite freezing location, then it has the hallway location, and then it has like that bridge location. All three locations are great. They kind of have that ominous, darker tone, and I think still great locations. And then Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi's greatness comes from the stakes, where it's like the battles, the fight itself is short but sweet. It's short but sweet. Where it's like the first half of the fight is Luke reluctantly fighting Vader. And I found that fascinating because it's like you know their huge history of being father and son. And so I think like that gives a lot of humane qualities to Vader. And so when Luke and Vader are fighting, there's very much a sense of you care about Vader losing suddenly more, and you kind of understand why Luke's so reluctant to fight. And so every swing they make does put that nervous wreck on you, where it's like you care. You in some ways even don't even want Vader to lose, but you don't want him to win. And yet you know Luke's reluctance, but you know how willing Vader is to fight on top of the great location, on top of the huge stakes, and on top of what Luke wanting to redeem him. And then like the second half, there's a huge pause where Vader's just talking. You see Luke, half light and half dark. But like the talking in between each part of the duel is just as exciting as the duel itself, because you see Luke half dark, half light, and so you wonder, is he going to continue fighting Vader, or is he going to stay hidden? Or is he going to, how is he going to accomplish the goal of redeeming Anakin? So you see all these things, and it brings, again, like that high level of stakes, where it's like, are they going to redeem Anakin? Or is he going to die? You don't know. So I think, like, that's super exciting. And then, like, once he ends up starting to fight the second half, you see Darkseid Luke. And where the choreography is not a 10, but that's the point. I think I love that it's not the best choreography fight, because I think when it choreographed, it's kind of them fighting, but not going for the kill, if you know what I mean. Like, what Luke was doing in that fight was out of anger. He wasn't fighting logistically, how do we combat Darth Vader. He was thinking of, I'm just going to swing my lightsaber hoping to kill him, which is interesting because he's doing that out of anger. And where you see him 2 seconds ago being so reluctant to fight, you see him fight and using his anger, you see he's better than Vader. And that was always fascinating to me, to see Darkseid Luke, but Darkseid Luke ended up being stronger than Vader, which goes to show you that if the tease of Luke could be a big threat if he turned evil, and at the time you had based on what Star Wars has done up to that point in 1983, you had no idea truly if Luke was going to stay good or bad. Because let's face it, they made Darth Vader his father, they made Leia his sister, they made Han get frozen in carbonite, not knowing if he's going to stay alive. They made so many different, they killed off Yoda, and I'm great scene, but obviously I'm sad that Yoda was dead and all, but we'll get to that later maybe. But it's like, it's unpredictable. This franchise, up to this point, you can never play this franchise up to the books. You can never just assume anything with Star Wars. You can never just assume, there's no way Luke's turning bad. There's no way Darth Vader could be good. And yet you see it all happen. And so I love the scene where he sees that Vader has a robotic arm, and he sees he has a robotic arm, and I think that's a great symbolization. Seeing that they both have robot arms is crazy, and like that's Luke's connection to it, where it's like they have nothing in common. He's a giant mechanical breathing machine, and he's a farm boy who's turned Jedi Knight. But he sees we're both somewhat machine. And he sees that's him having a mechanical arm, they both having a mechanical arm, is the symbolization that they have more in common than what seems on the outside. That they're like, I'm becoming more like Darth Vader than I realize. In that moment, he turns back to Luke we know and love. Because many people talked about how when Vader cut off Luke's arm in Empire, how that had no real stakes. But for me, it does come full circle when you're like, it turns out the point of that was not necessarily to say, oh, Luke has one arm, but to symbolize that he has a mechanical arm. I think that was fascinating to me to realize, wow, the point of him having a mechanical arm is to show that he's becoming more like Vader. Because at that point, you didn't know that Vader had a mechanical arm. Obviously, now you know his whole body was pretty much mechanical. But yeah, I think that fight's great. And I talked about that a long time. Prequel fights are cool. I think they're more Flippy-esque, and that's fine. I think like the Duel of Fates, great location. I love Dave Filoni talk about it, how Qui-Gon needed to be that father figure for him, and so there's so many great moments there to touch upon. Attack of the Clones lightsaber duel was brief and very disappointing, I think, because it's like finally you get to see Anakin and Obi-Wan working together, and like I said in the Attack of the Clones full film breakdown, they never really worked together. And then Revenge of the Sith has, like I said, the Mustafar sequence beyond exciting. Like I said, 10 out of 10 character stakes, 10 out of 10 choreography, and 10 out of 10 location. And I think that's not my favorite lightsaber fight sequence, but it's darn impressive. So yeah. And then the sequel lightsaber fights. I love the locations. But I think the choreography is a little bit off, and I don't feel character stakes. That's where it's flawed for me when it comes to the sequel lightsaber fights, is I don't feel character stakes. I just don't. Because it's like when someone tells me this is the fight that Kylo Ren redeems himself, but then in the context, you're like, okay, maybe in the context it'll feel better. But in the context, it's just weird. Because it's like nothing in that duel means anything. That's like the truth of the matter. In any of the duels, it doesn't mean anything. That's the problem. Is when Luke's confronting Vader, it means something. When Luke's confronting Vader both times, it means something. When Obi-Wan's confronting Vader, it means something. Because you know the stakes. You know who Darth Vader is. You know that Luke is way out of matched. You know Vader's his father. You know Obi-Wan and Anakin turn out like Mustafar sequence. You know Anakin and Obi-Wan turn out to be Vader and Obi-Wan, they used to be good friends. And then here it's like, what do Kylo Ren and Rey care about? Like, what's the stakes? That's the point. It's like, it's not like they are brother, and it's not like he's fighting his father. It's not like he's fighting his master. It's not like he's fighting his best friend. It's not like he's fighting Darth Vader. It's not like he's fighting Darth Maul. It's not like he's fighting so-and-so character. And so the stakes are not there. You don't care because it's like the throne room sequence, however cool it is, it doesn't mean anything. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like in the context of that sequence, what does it mean? Where it's like, it's a great sequence. But what does it mean going forward? Where it's like, great sequence. not a flawed sequence at all. But I think like there's a part of the original trilogy lightsaber duels, and some of the prequel lightsaber duels, like the Mustafar sequence, like the Duel of Fate sequence, that elevates it because you know the stakes, and you know what's at risk, and you know the relationships, and you know that this duel will have consequences. Whether it be figuring out Darth Vader is your father, or whether or even going into that duel. You know, seeing Vader and Luke, our hero and villain, finally fight and see how they end up. Where all this build up through the first film to get Luke and Vader fighting, to knowing that Darth Vader is Luke's father in Return of the Jedi, and having to see Luke fight Vader and try to redeem him, to Obi-Wan and Anakin, or Obi-Wan and Vader, you know they're master and apprentice. So that's the conflict there. To Mustafar, where you know that they're best friends, they're master and apprentice, and you know the path Anakin goes on top of the great location. Where this is, the throne room location is great. I love the guards and all that, but again, when you come to the end of the duel, or sequence, whatever, what are the stakes? At the end of that, nothing happens. Where it's like, that sequence has no meaning. What's the meaning of that sequence? If you tell me what's the meaning of that sequence, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't add anything. Where it's like, my lightsaber duel is as great as it is, has to have that layer of meaning. But yeah, that duel is amazing. That's not duel. It's not even a lightsaber duel. That sequence with the guards, great stuff. So, so let's move on to talking about great Star Wars planets. So let's go. My favorite Star Wars planet has gotta be Tatooine. Tatooine is the epitome of planets. Where it's not the most visually interesting, but that farmstead in those twin suns, in the twin sun setting, when you're in Tatooine, it's just amazing. I think whether you talk about the great world building of the cantina in Mos Eisley, or you talk about the farmstead, that iconic shot of that kind of igloo-like, where it's like, it very much is like a desert, or it's like if a desert was like the North Pole, or somewhere really cold. Where it's like it has that feeling of like, instead of you're always fearing the cold, you're always feeling the hot. And I don't know, something about it, the location of Tatooine. And I think obviously part of it is you get the most experience with Tatooine. You see it in New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Attack of the Clones, you know, a little bit in Revenge of the Sith, Rise of Skywalker, and that's just synonymous for that scene of Luke looking out in the sunset. It's just fantastic stuff. Where it's stuff of legends, where you see that shot mimicked, you see that shot redone, even in the final shot of the Skywalker saga. It's that shot. And it's not just the shots that make it good. It's just, I think, the context of that's the Skywalker's home planet. And so many great sequences on the planet. The Sarlacc pit. Just the farmstead itself. Mos Eisley, let's tell you. Great world building in that scene. I just did a rewatch of New Hope, part 4, I think, 5, I think, where they went in the cantina. And it's like, when they go in the cantina, it's great because, again, like I said, you just see plain and simple great Star Wars creatures, where it's like, up to that point, you saw the droids, you saw Vader, you saw Leia, you saw Luke, you saw Obi-Wan, but you didn't see other creatures of Star Wars. And so, and then you meet Han Solo and Chewie and Tatooine and all these great stuff. It's funny whenever people say, oh, that's coincidence in Star Wars, I'd like to say when it comes to the Skywalker scenario, I like to think it's the Force. I don't know, maybe that's just me being optimistic, but I think that only works for me when it's like Leia or Luke or Anakin doing stuff. Like, what are the odds that Han and Luke meet? Well, the odds are that it's honestly kind of rare, if we're being honest, and kind of likely in a way. Where it's like, Han is nothing special. That's the thing. It's like, many people are like, what are the odds Luke and Han ran into each other? And it's like, it's not like Han's anything special. You know what I mean? Where it's like, Han's just one character in and of itself. Where it's like, if he ran into Cassian Andor, that's a different scenario. But Han at the time was just a smuggler. Yes, he had some missions, but he's still a smuggler. Yes, he has the Millennium Falcon, a famous ship, but like I said, I mean, there's many other ships in Star Wars that might be the famous, except that's not the ship that Luke ran into. And even throughout the trilogy, he becomes special because he ran into Luke and saved Leia, but it's not like, oh, what are the odds Luke and Han meet? It's like, Han's nothing special. It's not like he's meeting a Jedi on the street, so that's kind of my thought process with that. So yeah, Cloud City, Bespin, great. Again, like I said, Cloud City, as short as we've been there, has a great lightsaber duel, great in outerior, and I think one of the few examples of the special edition working and making it better, where you get a lot of cool exterior shots of Cloud City that only could be done with CGI, where it's like a lot of like when, for example, when Leia and Chewie and Lando escaped the planet, a lot of it the original 1980s version was pretty much only outside and there was no windows. But this was like you saw windows where you would see the outside of the location, and so you get a bigger picture of Bespin. And so where it's just a bunch of white hallways, you get white hallways with windows where you get to see more of Bespin and more of Cloud City's outerior or outside, whatever. Because that's really cool. I really like it. I really like that. So yeah. I think that'll be it for location part of it. So yeah. So yeah. Let's move into another subject. This subject will be characters. JK, that'll have its own separate topic. I was about to say that, but I'm like, no, let's not do characters. Let's do titles. Titles. I know that's an interesting topic to be like, oh, let's talk about which is my favorite Star Wars title. It doesn't mean anything. I think if I had to say, my favorite Star Wars title, I mean, like, I love Empire Strikes Back, but I feel like that's too on the nose. Like, oh, Empire Strikes Back. Oh, that's too on the nose. I really like I really like New Hope. New Hope's a great title. Where it's like a new hope. And it's like, what is that hope? I mean, Star Wars is always known for like, what does this title mean? Because I think Star Wars is such a complex franchise where it's like, there's multi-meanings to, I guess, the different titles, I guess. I don't know. It's New Hope, I think. I mean, Empire Strikes Back is the better film, but that doesn't mean I love the title the best. I mean, like, with titles, it's just a bunch of semantics. But I think Star Wars titles have always been so on the nose, where it's like, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. Guess what happens? Sith get their revenge. Empire Strikes Back. Guess what happens? The Empire Strikes Back. On Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is the worst title because it has nothing to do with it. Phantom Apprentice is a really cool title. I think it's one of the best because it's like you don't know what it is. Who is the Phantom Menace? Who is it? Is it Sidious? Is it Anakin? Is it Maul? I really like that title. Again, like Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. I think, again, like, I have to go New Hope. A New Hope. It's probably the best title. Again, Empire's the best film, but I think that title is like A New Hope. Like, when you think of what would the first Star Wars film be called? Wouldn't it be A New Hope? A new shining star. No, none other than Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia. I'm sorry. All three of them play their part. I'm sorry. But yes, Luke Skywalker in particular. Last Jedi, I think, was a cool title at the time. But then seeing, I guess, like, the context of, like, The Last Jedi was, like, just a way of saying, like, Luke is the last Jedi, but then Rey is the last Jedi, where there is no going to be the last Jedi. I guess the theme is, like, The Last Jedi. Basically, I feel like the theme is in and of itself. The title is subverting your expectations. You think the Jedi will end, or you think that Luke's going to be the last Jedi, or the Rey's going to be the last Jedi, but come to the end of the film, it turns out the title is just a way to say, hey, we're not literally, one of Luke's final lines is one of them. One of his final lines in his Force thing with Kylo Ren was saying, I will not be the last of the Jedi. And for me, I'm like, what? What, in the sense that it's like, I gotta think, like, what in the sense where it's like, then what's the point of this film? I feel like the Star Wars titles are so on the nose that it's like, you just expect, oh, this one's going to be another title straight on the nose. I think The Force Awakens is a great title. But the worst title, I said it was Attack of the Clones, but I'm going Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker, the title, sucks. Where it could have been amazing to have Luke Skywalker be the guy to rise. And it's, nope, not Luke. Leia. No, not Leia. Obviously not Darth Vader. So you're like, who else? Well, Rey could never be a Skywalker. Oh yeah, she is. Which is not even true. She's a Palpatine. So like, what does it mean, Rise of Skywalker? Like, there was a sequence where it's like, rise, with Rey. But it's like, Rey is not a Skywalker, no matter what you try to force out. Rise of Skywalker should legitimately be a Skywalker. So you're like, it should be Ben. But it's like, that just felt out of place. Where it's like, okay, if they did a good, complete redemption arc to make Ben a good character and a good guy, sure. But it's like, in the last hour of the film, he goes from being bad to good. And it's like, yeah, it's all rushed. Where he turns good, then he kills the Knights of Ren, and then dies. It's like, I don't care. He doesn't even, I don't care. It's like, it's the whole sequence with Ben redeeming himself, whatever, for me was like, kind of sad. Not because it's sad that, like, Leia had to give up her life just to redeem her son, who killed your husband, for crying out loud. He killed Han Solo, and it's like, they're so willing to save him, even though the extent he went to kill someone you probably love more. Let's face it, Leia. But yeah, moving forward, yeah, so, we're gonna be moving on and talking about Rogue One, because I actually just watched that today, for like the not second time, like probably fourth time. And yeah, I think Rogue One for me has always felt like the last hour is what the film's really about. And I say it in a genuine sense. What's like the first hour for me has really always been about, I feel, honestly, again, like the first kind of hour has been about setting up the last hour to hopefully make everybody's deaths mean something. That, and to get why they knew they had to go to Scarif and the point of going to Scarif and seeing what the Death Star can do. But other than that, it's literally the film about the final battle. And so the final battle and the ending, all that great, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Yeah, amazing stuff. Like this final battle feels just like a battle, and so I think that I love it. And like the deaths are sad because you see soldiers giving their life up for something they care about, but not sad because you care about the characters. And on that note, I'm going to be transitioning into some of the best Star Wars battles. Okay, so Star Wars battles. I'm going to start talking about the trench run. The trench run was so exciting. I think, especially what they could do in 1977 is awestruck, amazing. Honestly, let's be honest here. It's just amazing what they were able to do in 1977. Like the trench run is just amazing. I think seeing seeing that it's a ticking time bomb almost for Yavin 4 to get blown up. And you see throughout the whole sequence them losing. One soldier after another X-Wing, after another X-Wing, another X-Wing, another X-Wing gets shot down. And you see Luke being the only one left. And it's just great stuff. And dogfight in space. And you see the stakes as the times counting down, and early in the film, seeing Alderaan being blown up, oh, there's stakes. You know what the Death Star can do. And all the way from Han with that last minute save, because I love Han Solo, and so it's to see him kind of come back and kind of be that good guy, because I think Han has always had a soft spot for helping his friends, where he doesn't care about a lot of things, but he cares about his friends, and he'll do it if his friends are in danger, and I love that. And then the Battle of Hoth, again, great stuff. Battle of Endor, great. I think I like AT-ATs, AT-ATs, AT-ATs. That's great. It's all great. And, yeah, I think it's just a bunch of great stuff in that film. And I think also seeing those snow things are really cool. Again, the location of Hoth, I forgot to talk about this when I was talking about planets, but Hoth is up there. Hoth is great. Hoth's great. And yeah, using the ingenuity of tripping that thing, and it makes it all the more better. Tripping the AT-AT, and it makes it all the more better when it gets called back in Civil War. So I think it's just a bunch of great stuff. And then Battle of Endor. I mean, great. I love the Battle of Endor, where it's everybody has to do their part. All our heroes have to do their part. Where it's the goal was to blow up the Empire, or blow up the Death Star, and kill the Emperor, and Luke is trying to redeem Vader. And everybody has to do their part for the Empire to end. Han and Leia, Chewie, basically, they have to blow up the Death Star, but they can't blow up the Death Star if the shields are up. So to turn the shields down, Han, Chewie, Leia, and R2 and 3PO have to deactivate the shields. Ground battle. That's the ground battle, with some assists with the Ewoks, which, by the way, I think are fine. I like the Ewoks. I really do. I think they're not they're space bears, but space bears who are warriors and use their ingenuity to fight. But anyways, so there's the ground battle to take the shield of the Death Star down. Now Lando and the X-Wings have to do their part of actually blowing up the Death Star. But they can't blow up the Death Star if Han and Leia don't do what they have to do. But to officially end the Empire, the Emperor has to be killed. And Luke has his personal mission of redeeming Darth Vader. And so while Luke's mission didn't have to be a success to have the Empire end, you care about Luke, and you care that Luke's mission is also very important, that also to how he needs the emperor to die, or at least die as far as we knew it in 1983. And so yeah, because like the emperor could escape and build a whole new empire, like this ended up happening anyways. But that's beyond the point. So yeah, everybody had to do their part. All our main characters had to do our part to get the job done. Luke had to redeem Vader. Vader had to kill the Emperor. To blow up the Death Star, Han and Leia had to deactivate the shield. But the Death Star would still be fully activated if Lando didn't blow up the Death Star. So there's so many different things that had to be right. And I love film conclusions where everybody not only gets a moment to shine, but their moment to shine matters. To that, the iconic "I love you, I know" is such a great line, because you see it originally being used as Leia saying "I love you" and then Han saying "I know," and then to Han saying "I love you" and Leia saying "I know." Great stuff. And Han had some great moments in the final battle too. I mean, everybody talks about the space battle and Luke having the lightsaber duel, but like Han and Leia and Chewie, they did some great stuff as well. I mean, like the ground battle had some great moments too. I mean, Han deactivated the shield. Han, there was still ground battle, and Han had, and 3PO and R2 had to, 3PO had to get the Ewoks to help, and 3PO had to open R2 had to open the shield to ultimately let Han and Leia deactivate the thing. And again, there's a lot of great battles, a lot of great ground battles, space battles. So again, like I love battles that in Star Wars that operate on all fronts: space battles, lightsaber duels, and then a ground battle, ground assault. All great stuff, all amazing stuff. And then the prequels have now the Coruscant battle. Great, I like the Coruscant battle. I think I like when the clones, as brief as it is, the clone battle, the clones versus the droids, and the Jedi versus the droids. Those are cool. Those are one of the few standouts of Attack of the Clones, if there is any standouts. I mean, to call that even a standout is not even that true, anyways. And then moving forward, what other great battles? And the sequels? Let's go to sequels. Oh yeah, Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace final battle, fine. I didn't like the Gunkin part, and the Padme and her guards fight, fine. Lightsaber duel, great. And then the sequels. The sequels didn't have any standout battles. The final battle, I really want to touch upon the final battle. Again, like I said, the final battle is pretty iffy, in my opinion. Where it's like, it has a potential to be great, but they kind of rush over a lot of things. Where you have that whole endgame portal sequence. Literally, instead of "on your left," Lando says, "There's more of us." Instead of I am inevitable," and then "I am Iron Man, I am all the Sith, and I am all the Jedi." But that whole sequence, I feel like, doesn't have the relevance needed, because it doesn't do anything with it. Where it's like, they'll come and then they fight, and then all of a sudden they cut back to the Emperor, and then they cut back and it's already them leaving, and they already did the job. And it's like kind of weird, because it's like, I feel like, I don't know, all they did, like I feel like the space battle didn't mean anything. Where it's like, all it really mattered was that Finn did what he had to do. It was Finn landing on the Star Destroyer. That was the only part of it that mattered. I'm being honest here. It's the only part of that mattered. Because when you think of, what mattered about that fight, what did the space battle accomplish besides killing all those men? Nothing. They left because of the Star Destroyer, because Finn shot it at the Star Destroyer. It's like, So that didn't really matter. I just think it, and even like the ground battle itself, you didn't get a lightsaber duel. You didn't get any. There was no real fighting. All it was the Emperor force lightning Rey, and then she just has to block it, and then uses the other lightsaber duel. Like there's like a brief Ben Solo versus the Knights of Ren, but that's just again like so brief. Now the crate and Last Jedi, great. I like the crate. I like crate. I like the sequence on crate. I really did. The crate sequence, great. Force Awakens, again, like I said, it was very reminiscent of New Hope, but like I said, but also it was kind of cool seeing kind of that space battle in a modern light. And then the lightsaber duel, I like the location, but again, lightsaber duel itself, not one of my favorites. It was good to reveal that Rey was a Jedi, but like up to that point, I kind of figured because it's like Finn had no real Force abilities, and it's like you're not gonna have a trilogy where no one had the Force, and like Rey already did some Force trick on some people, so it's like I don't know. For me, that it didn't really matter. So that's gonna be it from Let's Talk Some Star Wars Part 1. I don't know if you guys liked it, but I liked doing that. So I hope to do more Let's Talk Some Star Wars, where I just talk about a few topics. So today's topics, just to reiterate, I talked about lightsabers and lightsaber duels. I talked about final battles, or just Star Wars battles in general. I talked about locations, or not locations, but more planets. I talked briefly about Rogue One. What else did I talk about? I talked about Rogue One. It was lightsabers, battles, Rogue One, planets, and final battle. So that's what I talked about in today's Let's Talk Some Star Wars.